Hey, Hermione here. For those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of speaking to before and a few new faces out there in my community, I am a property management business and life coach for property managers who want to grow, manage, and scale their rentals without burning out. And I'd love to come back and start doing a few of our ask anything questions. And I thought I'd start with a question that came up in one of my coaching sessions today, which I think might resonate for a few other people in property management. And so this was with a team leader property manager who had come to me because she'd had some complaints about her communication style being a bit blunt over email when she was liaising with her landlords and tenants. And so she wanted to know how to improve that. And so today's tip is all around, well, how do we improve that email communication to reduce the conflict in property management? Now, in this session, we spoke about how some of us have different communication styles, right? We're all going to have different communication styles. Some of us are going to have a very direct communication style, and some are going to, be a bit more fluffy and lovey and sort of put a bit more into it. And it doesn't mean that a direct communication style is a bad thing. And often this type of person with a direct communication style is just being really efficient in getting their message across. They don't need all the fluff. However, we know that this can cause challenge where the person receiving the message doesn't have the communication style. Or maybe even where that person's having a bad day, or they've already got a belief or filter that they've got about your agency, that they're seeing everything in that same light. So we can see that just these simple things like emails can actually then cause conflict to arise when the person receiving that message gets upset with that short, blunt communication style, which not only can then lead to a bit of backwards and forwards, but it can lead to, broken relationships with that person, which in turn for a property manager then makes it harder for us to get things resolved and increases that chance of conflict, which is more stressful for all involved. Now, email's an interesting one because firstly, email's easy, right? And it keeps that paper trail, but it can be very challenging because we can lose a lot of that tone and context, right? And whilst yes, we can control how we send it, we cannot control how that person receiving it, what mood or state that person's in. And quite often the content of these emails can be quite highly emotionally charged topics, which might be, some of these things might be better communicated via phone where possible. However, that's not always possible for us. So with all of that in mind, email can be a really tricky one to navigate, especially if you're more prone to a direct communication style. The good news is that it is possible to just make a few simple tweaks to how you communicate via email to be able to improve how it's received on the other end, which can have a massive impact on the outcomes that you get and the quality of the relationships that you then have with your clients, which it reduces that chance for potential misunderstanding and makes everyone's lives a bit easier. So provided that email is the right communication method to be using in this instance, then we can try some of these additional strategies to then help us improve the possible outcomes, right? And so the first one is of slowing down. Okay, so this might seem hard for those of us who are like frantically trying to get as many things done as we can, but the more rushed we are, the more likely it is that we're going to send rushed emails. So it's really important to ensure we plan out our day effectively, as that's going to make a really huge difference to the quality of emails that we can send. Okay. Next is taking a minute. So we want to take a minute after we've written an email out to reread it, and not only reread it, try and pause and step into the other person's shoes for a moment and consider, if they were receiving this, how might they perceive this email and message? And maybe then consider as well, how do I want them to feel? And what's my ideal outcome here, right? Like what am I really trying to achieve to get out of this situation? And have I effectively communicated that? The next part of it is sandwiching your message. So if you're prone to just sort of writing an email that's like, hey, Hermione, here's the information, bye, then we want to remember to sandwich that message. So sometimes in a rush, we can forget to add what I call like the fluff or the padding around the message. So of course, we always want to try and take a moment to say, I hope your move went well. I hope you enjoyed your break, or something just to add that friendly component in. It softens that tone. And then try and pre-frame the message you're about to deliver. Okay, instead of just diving straight in for the kill, maybe start with saying like, I'm writing to confirm the results of the vacate your inspection and request your attention on some of those items. So it's just preparing them for the fact that you're about to deliver a message to them. And then after you've delivered your message or the sort of core content or the issues required or what actions you need from them, then you want to close by outlining your next steps or expectations with an offering to open further communication, right? So it's not a closed book. Quite often that direct communication style, it's like, here's information, it's a closed book. So just add that like bottom layer of the sandwich, that extra padding to say, feel free to call me to chat about this, or simply let me know what action you'd like for us to take. So we're just sandwiching the message to make it a bit more padded and fluffy there. Okay. Then we want to focus on the outcome we're trying to achieve. So another tip is really to shift that mindset to be able to focus on the outcome, right? Like we really want to try and have clever communication that's not manipulative, but is framed up in a way to get us the results that we're looking for out of that communication. So it's considering, how can I best deliver this message for that to occur? And is this the right communication method for that? The next tip I want you to think about as well is then your state of mind or stress levels. Okay, so if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, which I know a lot of us are in property management, your tone and shortness can then sometimes be reflected in that written communication. So we want to aim to always try and reset ourselves with a break, stepping away, going for a walk, breathing, or if you're, having an overwhelmed day, using a method where you can like brain dump everything out on a piece of paper to get yourself sorted, plan out the rest of your day, just pause and reset to try and make sure that you're not taking that stress of all of these other situations into writing this next email. And then for those really big and sticky emails, those really long ones where you have to write, a bit of an essay there, or you've kind of bashed out an email in a reactive response, get it out. That's fine. It's important to get it out. But then I encourage you to just minimize it, save it as a draft, and walk away and leave it for an hour or so and come back to it. Because quite often when we come back to it, we go, oh, okay, now that I'm rereading this in a calmer state or a different frame of mind, I'm able to see how it can be improved. So we just want to think about sending our emails. It's like a baton pass in a relay, right? In athletics. So we can't control how the other person receives it, but we can do everything possible to ensure a strong and intentional handover to increase your chances of success. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. Whether you have a direct communication style or not, these tips should, when applied, will improve your outcomes in email, improve the relationships that you have with your clients, and reduce that stress that can occur when those are not in place. So comment below, let me know how you go, or if you already use some of these strategies, or if you have any really great other tips that you'd like to share, and look forward to hearing how you go.